Hi, class. So today, right now, we're going to talk about Aristotle. Aristotle was a student of Plato's and a critic of Plato's. Uh, Plato, we saw, was a rationalist, but not one that completely discounted the senses. Plato established a dualistic world where the senses had a role in the makeup of the world, but they were essentially defective copies of the intelligible realm, the realm of ideas and forms. Aristotle can be appropriately classified as an empiricist rather than a rationalist, meaning that he rejected this idea of a dualistic world where the senses were sort of at the bottom of a hierarchy that was governed by the intellect. That is not to say that Aristotle didn't appreciate reason, and in fact, he made the most lasting and important contributions to logic, which is, the tools that rationalists use. So Aristotle was a very rational philosopher, but one who thought that you don't look first to the intellect or the forms in order to understand the sensible realm. Rather, you start with what's in front of you, the sensible realm, to understand the forms of what's here. So it's where do you put your focus on ideas and concepts, or on the world and exploring it, and then developing your ideas and concepts from it? Aristotle falls in that latter camp, so he is an empiricist who uses senses and reason to develop his philosophy. And I want to look today at his metaphysics because I want to show how it differs from Plato's metaphysics. Plato's metaphysics is what I just described, that divided line of the intelligible world being more real, or the really real, and the sensible realm being defective copies of the real. Okay. So the metaphysical question, the fundamental question is, what is being? What is real? What fundamental realities exist? What is it that underlies everything that is? Those are the kinds of questions that Aristotle is concerned with when talking about metaphysics. And his answer is substance. Okay? And substance is distinct from attributes. When we look at the world and we start describing the world, we will describe both a substantial or entity. We will describe substance, and then we will describe attributes of that substance. So, as an example, you'll look at me and you'll say, well, he's 6'4". He is tall. Okay, and you might say, he is middle-aged. And there's all sorts of things you can say about me. Right now, he is in his house, so location is another attribute of me. But what are we talking about whenever we attribute a quality to something? We're talking about substance, in this case, me as a human being. So substance is what grounds those attributes. Substance is not predicated itself. These are all predicates. What we say about something. The substance is what is underlying all those attributes, all those predicates. So substance is not itself predicated. Okay. So when thinking about substance, and things that are in this world, things that are, Aristotle identified four causes, okay, which we can think of as B causes, meaning the question is, why is this thing what it is? Why is this thing a substance and not a predicate or an attribute? Why is it a substance? Because it has these qualities. The first one being the material cause. Okay. Here we see Aristotle's criticism of Plato. Plato, when thinking about what is really real, doesn't give respect to a material cause or a material makeup of a thing, because what is really real for Plato is actually immaterial. It's a product of the intellect. It's an idea. It's a form. Okay, but for Aristotle, substance is grounded in material. So the material cause is, the material from which something exists. So to give an example, we'll keep going back to this example, but a house, okay? What would be the material cause of a house? Well, all those material things that make up a house. So it might be wood, it might be adobe, it'll involve shingles most likely. It'll depend on the house. But whatever material things make up that house will be part of the material cause. Okay. So of course, the material cause for me, a person, would involve, blood and bones and all the things that make up myself, my physical self. Okay. Next would be formal cause. And the formal cause are all those properties that make something what it uniquely is. Okay, so when we go out and we investigate things in the world, and we can distinguish different things in the world. We can distinguish dogs from cats. We can distinguish a house from a garage. We can distinguish a house from a tree. So the formal cause are those, everything that the properties that make something what it is uniquely. Okay, so in a typical house, at least in the U.S., you're going to find various rooms. You're going to find a living room. You're going to find a kitchen. You're going to find a restroom. All these things make up the house and distinguish it from what a garage would be. The formal cause of a garage would involve a structure that has a wide open space on the inside that you can fit, a car into, for instance. Okay, so the properties that make something, and that's different from material causes, because you'll notice that the formal cause between an adobe house and a wood house is the same. Like I said, they involve rooms, kitchen, bathroom, and so on. So the formal cause is consistent even as the material cause differs between those two houses. Okay. All right. Then we have the efficient cause. And this is the process that makes a substance. Okay. Aristotle, so we've looked at Parmenides, and Parmenides argued rationally that we should deny the senses as a source of knowledge, and rationally speaking, we come to the conclusion that nothing moves and nothing changes. Aristotle gives an account of how things change. And so his philosophy is sort of a process philosophy that takes into account how things come into being and come out of being. So the efficient cause is part of that, and it involves, in the case of the house, all the work that goes into the house, which would include the construction, which would include the cutting down of trees and processing of lumber if you have a wooden house. It would even involve the investment that goes into the house, the buying of property, and then the architectural work and so on. But all the work, the labor that goes into creating the house would constitute its efficient cause. Okay, and then he thought that all substances also had a final cause. Okay, and that's the purpose that this substance serves. So clearly, for a house, the final cause would be to create a safe, uh, you know, comfortable living environment for its inhabitants. Uh, and with the final cause, we if a substance achieves its final cause, then it is flourishing. A house that is built on unstable ground and doesn't last as long as it should and is easily wiped out by the most minor earthquake, that would not be achieving its final cause. But a house that is sturdy, well built, well crafted, well designed, that is a house that flourishes and that its final cause is realized through the thing. And that becomes an important part of Aristotle's philosophy because he thought all things had a final cause, all substances. And as I noted, me, a human being, that is, what I am substantially. And so he thought that human beings had a final cause as well. There's a way for human beings to flourish as people, and we realize our final cause when we set the conditions for flourishing. Okay, if you have any questions, of course, send me an email and I'll happily respond.